Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real to Real. This is a continuation in our series where we're trying to each pick a movie in succession that we find threads from the previous movie that we want to continue on into the next one and see how far it goes until we give up or intentionally tank it. So the movie that we're going to be watching tonight is the 1974 movie, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
With Walter Matthau and Robert Shaw and I almost said Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Springer.
Not Jerry Springer. Stiller.
Jerry Stiller?
I'm getting my Jerry's mixed up.
Jerry.
And Jerry Stiller. One interesting little tidbit that I just noticed today is the director of this movie is Joseph Sargent, who was born as Giuseppe Daniele Sorgente.
Whoa.
But he also directed Jaws: The Revenge.
Holy cow, that's a good thread.
Oh,
which is a cool little that's a fun little serendipity there that you have Robert Shaw also in the movie, and then he would later go on to direct possibly one of the worst sequels to Jaws. I don't know. Yeah. Different time, different story.
Great legacy.
Right.
Eric, you've never seen this movie, have you?
No.
Tyler, have you seen this movie?
I have, and quite recently.
Okay.
Actually, just probably it was sometime in the summer when we were talking about it, I think.
Okay. What were you gonna say, Eric?
So, I'm familiar with the title, and I know they did a remake not too long ago, I think. By not too long ago, I think within the last
2005 with Denzel and Saturday Night Fever.
Travolta.
Yeah, Travolta.
No.
Would you watch the hair?
Is it a train?
Yes,
the train
it is a New York subway.
There you go. Yeah, so I'm familiar with it and its reputation. Never seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, you're in for a treat.
It's a really fun movie, and
don't tell me what I'm in for.
You're in.
Okay. You are in. I can say that confidently, but it's a very good thriller in some of the best ways, where it keeps you guessing, and how it plays out is the fun part.
Okay.
But I think you'll both be able to kind of pick up on some of the threads. There's 2-3 main ones that I kind of followed through with this one.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say at the end.
Oh.
And one of the threads is not one of you guys ever seeing the film before, because you have never seen Rear Window before. That was our last movie. And now Bradshaw has never seen this, so...
No, the thread has to do with narrative, with themes and elements from the story.
Cool. So to recap, then, last movie, like I said, was Rear Window. That was Bradshaw's pick. Maybe there's a thread tangentially with that. We'll see.
Well, one last thing before we start is keep your eyes open, both of you guys and anybody at home that watches this. Keep your eyes open for some of the background characters, because there's people that are giving it 120%, and it's wonderful.
Excellent.
Hell yeah.
All right, so without further ado, let's kick this into high gear and
let's get this train a-rolling.
Let's roll this subway.
Let's roll this beer.
And now, our feature presentation.
Just the way it ends. It's just the most beautiful thing ever.
Suspicious look through the door.
I think I'm just going to go back to that. Just got to have a still of it.
That's the look we give to Bradshaw when we know he's sleeping. Got you red-handed.
There you are. The Brown Show, you awake now?
Yeah.
How'd you love it? If you wake up to this face looking at you.
Yeah. It's all, hey.
Go ahead, Wilson. I'm recording, so you can intro it.
Well, that was the movie.
Yeah, great movie. Great little heist movie.
Bradshaw, what you think of it?
Started pretty solid.
Yeah.
A
lot of funky music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it get less solid?
No, it just it became more involved in the nap world.
Oh wow!
Sure.
Yeah. Could you speak more about that nap world part of that?
So it's a place you go to.
Sure. By subway train?
Actually, funny story. Originally, yeah, supposed to. But as time went on, Santa, he's different.
Santa Legales?
That's what I got out of that too.
He was just with Little Nemo in Dreamland, in Slumberland, on his dirigible.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I want to get your take on what you think the threads that I chose were.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Tyler? Because I think maybe you actually have a coherent figuring out there.
The extras. I'm thinking there's a lot playing around, like different. As in Rear Window, there was, those little vignettes of the people that lived in his courtyard or whatever, and they all had their own story. And this, they're all wrapped up in the same story, but they all had distinct personalities.
It was kind of that. I'll just tell you what they were. So the first one was, again, location as character.
I was going to say that one also. That was my backup.
Where the entire subway system is encapsulated and really comes to life. Like you said, kind of like you've got the command center, you've got the people from the transit authority, you've got all these little pockets that make up the functioning system of the New York transit system.
Yeah, I felt like those Japanese guys on that tour, like when he was showing them around, like all the different facets of the subway, like the handlers or like the dispatch, and then like the transit authority, all the cops that are down there, and the that one lady that was like, she was almost like a relay person between stations or something. Yeah, getting to know the ins and outs of it all,
Yeah. I mean, you really do get a good idea of, at this time, I don't know how much it reflected real life, obviously, but like getting to see all the old technology and how central like radio communication is to everything. The second one was it wasn't. I picked up on it from Rear Window, but the unlikely hero, right?
Sure.
You wouldn't imagine Jimmy Stewart or Walter Matthau to be the hero of this thriller, tense movie, but like, because Walter Matthau doesn't fire a gun or do any single like heroic action, like stunt or performance at all.
Right. He kind of just talks to the guys.
And it's interesting how that's supposed to be the person that you follow, that you're rooting for, that you're like, okay, he's going to solve this. He's going to get the people out of danger. He's going to be the one to be the hero at the end. But just looking at Walter Matthau, that's not what you would usually connect him with, right?
No, he's he's not like the action hero or like Dirty Harry or like a Charles Bronson.
And same thing with Jimmy Stewart. Like, these actors could certainly play those roles. It's maybe not what they're known for, but the character in these movies where they are the hero, they are like in a wheelchair or they're stuck to a radio, and they are more using their brains and their wits to figure this out. Like, one thing to me that is very key about this movie is that moment where Walter Matthau figures out, oh, they don't know what's going on outside of that tunnel, so I can tell them anything I want and they'll go with it.
Yeah, you know? The sky is red.
Yeah, and like that's really integral to this story is the phone and radio communication holds everything together. Because if it took place like in the 2005 movie, there's an element of like, oh, somebody on the train has a laptop and they can use the camera on their laptop to give the people outside an idea of what's happening on the train. There's nothing like that here. All they have is the radio to contact these guys, and it's like their word versus the other person.
Yeah, and they were doing a lot of that. Like when he was talking to the hijackers, he would switch over his comm link to somebody else, and he'd be talking to that girl at the dispatch, or he'd be talking to Jerry Stiller, and then he would relay some information to the actual above ground police, and they would just do this weird daisy chain of like communication through walkie-talkies and this intercom thing. You know, like, I loved how they kept switching to those different places to show, to show us some, to reorient us to where this is all happening.
And the third thread that I pulled on was people using code names or kind of presenting themselves to be somebody other than who they are. And that was even in Rear Window with Jimmy Stewart, like calling him on the phone and kind of manipulating him or sending him anonymous letters.
Yeah, he did that.
Where the hijackers all have code names and they're not identifying themselves. And even as the audience, we have no idea who these people are. Like, obviously they have some sort of criminal background because they know how to handle themselves, but past that, you know nothing about them.
Right. And none of them got away scot-free. You think one of them would, but they all just kind of turned on each other. I think there was a hint of that with Robert Shaw's character and the guy at the end. They were going to turn on one of those guys they were with. I think they were just fall guys that they were just going to kill and take the money from. Because he said,
well, I think the plan was because after they get the money and they get off the train, they take off because they're all dressed approximately the same, you know, dudes in trench coats with mustaches and glasses and like a pork pie or like a trilby kind of hat. So if any of these witnesses was to give a description, they'd all be describing the same person. So they take off their glasses, they switch hats to different styled hats. They take off their mustaches, they turn their jackets inside out. So they're like completely different from that description that could be given of them. So they were like planning to like, you know, do this quick swap and then all separate and then meet back up to make sure everybody's got the money that they need and then go their separate ways. But obviously one of the members was like a hothead and he didn't give a fuck about the planning or the organization. He's like, let's do this. Let's go guns a-blazing, Bonnie and Clyde style.
Yeah, as it should be.
I like how everything was like, you could tell that Robert Shaw, he's the one who came up with this idea and he found the people he needed, like somebody who was a former motorman who could operate the train, somebody who he knew he could trust to like take orders and get things done. And then just a guy who I would assume just got like on a recommendation, like, oh, use this guy.
Probably met him
and he
in like the prison or something like that.
Or like, yeah, a recommendation from like, or he met him in a bar or something, but he had it planned out like, I'm giving you only 1 hour. I need the bills in these denominations. You know, 2 unarmed cops walking down the train or the track. Like, It was all very thoroughly planned out. And yeah, I guess let's talk about like some of the other scenes that didn't have too much to directly do with the heist, like the mayor.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of said that,
the
like,
mayor being a sickly old man with Doris, what's her face in the background?
Yeah, Grandma from Grandma's Boy, and Everybody Loves Raymond.
Mm-hmm. Bracho, did you see
like,
that? Were you sleeping during that part?
Hmm.
Do you know who this lady is back there?
He's still sleeping.
Who's that back there? Oh yeah, no, I was out.
I'm trying to find a good shot of her.
Why is the blacks
It's the best you're gonna get here.
So come on, Al, quit stalling. You stop bullying everybody.
Bracho, you watching?
Oh, the bummer.
Do you see this lady back there?
Yes.
We're trying to run a city, not a gun.
Hopefully you'll be able to see.
Al, quit farting around. We've got to pay.
I don't know. I think that for anybody that hasn't seen this movie, if you enjoy a good heist thriller movie, it's got enough going on to keep you guessing where you don't know what their plan is. Because, I mean, I have ridden the New York subway once, maybe twice in my life.
Wow.
Or like other train systems like that. So I don't know all the ins and outs. Unless you're well versed in it, you really can't guess like, oh, this is probably what they're going to do, or this is how they could get the hostages out of there, or how this could be solved. There's a lot of to be revealed. It's not like there's tons of twists and turns, but there's enough to keep you guessing and keep you engaged if you're not super sleepy.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a lot of threads to pull from this, I would say.
I will second what Wilson said. That was a bummer because I was pretty wide awake when we were watching this, and I got back. Maybe it's just them 70s movies or something. But it just relaxed the shit out of me. All of a sudden, I was just like, huh? What?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like frenetic action and like it's not like fast paced or high tension though. Like to keep you like, oh my gosh, on the edge of my seat, I can't look away. It is a little bit like, I don't even know how to say it. It's not the most action packed movie, but if
There's
you're
a lot of intrigue though. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was, for what I was around for, I was in. I was hooked. It hooked me.
That's good.
I would say that if one of you guys had picked this movie, something that I might go to as a continuation from this would be something like The Warriors, where you've got characters and an organization who have code names using the subways, location as character. There's definitely a lot of threads you can pull from this.
I love The Warriors, and I was thinking about that because very reminiscent, but there's so many other things too. There's so many other things that I could think of that like pop into my head, like trains. Like what's the a thread with a runaway train, like the end of Speed, like the first Speed movie with Keanu, where like Dennis Hopper puts, Sandra Bullock on a train and just blasts it down the rails.
You could do even Snowpiercer. Or Murder on the Orient Express, or
bop it back to the old Hitchcock boy for those. What was it? Those two. Was it North by Northwest and Strangers on Train?
Yeah, anything with subways in it.
But there's so much, like the two big names of this movie, Walter Matthau and Robert Shaw. There's maybe the third biggest name that anybody today might recognize might be Jerry Stiller. But a lot of this, the sets and the cast and the extras really flesh out a lot of this to give it so much more character and texture for these bigger names to kind of operate in.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I got into a resurgence of watching a lot of 70s movies. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones that are kind of like under the radar, where you think about it, like these movies are just so self-contained of their time that could never be made today, really. I know they tried with that 2005 one, but like
that's the thing
in today's
about the
landscape, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, I have no interest in seeing the 2005 one, but I did read up on it for this, where John Travolta is trying to manipulate the stock market, and you've got the thing with like the laptop with the camera on it, and
sure,
they just about stonks, dude. The whole thing's
yeah,
about
like
stonks.
he's asking for, I think it was like 4.7 million, because you got to up the number, because in the 70s, $1 million is a lot of money, but today it's like, oh, that's so commonplace. Tons of people have $1 million, but
yeah, 1 million then was like 10 million now.
The old Austin Powers joke when Dr. Evil comes back, like $1 million. Like that, 1 million's not that much now.
No, it's like, dude, we could, sure, okay.
But you couldn't. Yeah. Oh my God! Look, Robert Shaw's face.
Yeah.
You really, the reliance on the old technology, like the board that shows the train moving with just the colored lights.
Yeah. And
the reliance on the radios is the only way to communicate with these people and to communicate with each other to try and get a handle on. If it was today, you probably have CCTV. You'd probably have like a ton of different ways that you could suss out who's on the train.
All those people with phones.
Yeah, somebody's like live streaming it from their phone, really like inconspicuously on the train,
Yeah, I was also thinking of a thread. Have you guys seen Inside Man?
I have not. Bradshaw likes to be the inside man.
Bradshaw, have you seen it? Spike Lee.
Who's in it?
Clive Owen, Denzel Washington.
Sounds familiar.
Jodie
Like
Foster.
I know the name.
Christopher Plummer plays a little bit in it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I've seen it. I know the name. It's one of them there 2000s Denzel movies, though, isn't it?
Yeah, primarily. It's about a heist that happens, and Clive Owen is the leader of the heist. And if you guys haven't seen it, I guess that'll be our next thread, because it's pretty cut and dry how that thread could be put into that movie, and you'll see pretty early on too.
Heist movies too.
Can you think of a movie that has been remade in a more modern era that still took place near or at the original setting?
Psycho?
Because there's not many.
Psycho, yeah.
Because I think that a lot of filmmakers, or at least studios, like have come to that realization of like, okay, if we do try to remake this and modernize it, it's just not going to work as well, or we're going to have to add so much to it that it's not so much a remake, but like just a spiritual successor with the same name.
Right.
Like a great example would be Jaws. You can't make that movie in a more modern era, because then you've got so much more technology of how to find the fish, the messing around. Like, you wouldn't be able to be like, oh, well, the mayor said no, can't do anything about that. You'd be able to contact tons of different people or get organizations involved.
Well, that's the thing. Even back in the day, like in Australia, there's a lifeguard like perched on like a cliff that can like spot sharks. They're shark spotters. They relay the information like, all right, shark near the coast, everybody out. There would just be that person there in like a lighthouse looking down on the beach, making sure there's no big shadows coming into the shallow water. So like it wouldn't happen. Like the kids wouldn't get eaten, and those drunk girls wouldn't go swimming.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say I'd recommend it. It's a good time, and enjoy some Walter Matthau.
Oh yeah, you can't. I love Walter Matthau. The Odd Couple. Oh man, him and Grumpy Old Men. I mean, we could totally do that.
That's a great one.
With was Lemon.
Jack Lemmon, yeah.
Mhm. Jack Lemmon.
The Lemon Party.
Oh God.
Well, I guess we'll leave it up to you, Tyler, to come up with the next film.
Yeah, if you guys are down, I could totally just do Inside Man because I haven't seen it in a while, and it's a pretty good time.
Oh
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it, but I would tell you just keep an open mind. Maybe.
Yeah, reach for the skies.
Yeah.
There's so many other movies that
like I said, I would not be disappointed in Inside Man at all. So saying maybe just think a little bit.
Okay.
We'll
Maybe
see
further on
if
down the
anything-
road. Definitely, it's definitely really
like to
formulaic. It's very formulaic, and it's almost beat for beat a similar idea like this, like Die Hard almost. There's like some fun twists that happen in it, but there's elements that are taken straight from Taking of Pelham. But yeah, I'll reminisce. I'll think. I'll ponder.
Yeah. I just kind of like the surprise element where it's just like, boom, here's the movie. And you're like, oh.
Okay. I just need to find connecting threads because I do have a lot of movies in my head that I do want you guys to see.
Mustaches. There's one.
Mustaches? Sure.
That's the thread.
Chase scenes? There's a chase.
I was only awake for so much, and mustaches was one of the things that stood out.
You blurted something out somewhere in the middle
I'm
there.
sure I did, dude.
It was very scary. And you sounded like you were drowning at one point.
Yeah, it sounded like I said it. You sounded like there's a bear present in the room with you.
Yep.
What was it?
It was
What did
violent.
sound like?
It was violent. It was like...
Oh,
Something weird like that. Some weird fucking shit, you know?
Hell yeah, dude.
All right, so we'll call this one over. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Go watch Taking of Pelham with Walter Matthau, not with Saturday Night Fever.
Travolta.
no, don't watch the remake.
No.
No,
Or
no.
do, but give the original a shot.
Yeah. Expand your
Is
horizons.
it on any
Watch old
streaming
movies.
services or anything?
This? Yeah,
It
this
is
was on Amazon.
Prime.
We're watching
There
it
you
on
go.
Amazon.
So now you guys know. You can go out and watch it on Amazon Prime.
Maybe you didn't know, but now you know.
In
And
HD
it's good
1080p.
information for me, because I'll probably go back and watch it as well.
I hope
Catch
you
up
do.
on
'Cause
the 2/3 of the movie that I missed.
I think you'll like it.
You could do anytime I end up falling asleep, you could do the Broad Show postscript where I come back the next week and be like, okay, I watched it.
Sure.
Little segment.
and we'll just go back to the ending and we'll leave it at the face.
We'll go back to the Matthau mug.
Yeah,
I knew it was you the whole time.
yeah, boy.
That's my boy, Walter Matty.
Yes.
Wow.